We're now joined by Mdu Mathenjwa from Grashyo Health and Safety. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. Mdu shared with us information with regards to an incident that he went through some time ago. And with that is a motivational speaker to get employers and employees alike to toe the line and to do what is necessary in the interest of health and safety to avoid such incidents. Thank you, Mdu, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
First of all, your presentation and what you shared with us, I was obviously emotionally moved by it. I'm sorry that you had to go through it. I can't imagine what it felt like. But based on that information, I put together some questions for us, if you don't mind.
No worries.
Right. So first of all, can you briefly explain what happened and in the incident that you went through at the workplace and obviously after that as well?
All right. So actually, look, what happened was I was burnt by acid when I was working on the surface in one of the mines in 2008. I was 22 years old. It was a Friday afternoon when we had to start up the acid plant from the mine. And unfortunately, the pump malfunctioned because it exploded. The pump, because it's industrial, it's powerful. It hit me once on my face. I fell to the ground. And obviously, I had to lose all the PPE I had around my face immediately. And for some reason, the pump kept pumping. I don't know what happened to the e-stop, the emergency stop of the pump. And then it was no longer pumping the acid to the next stage of the process. It was pumping it directly to where I was on the floor. Then it ate at me from my head to my feet. And basically, that is when my life changed completely. You know, because I wanted to be the best chemical engineer in the world, but the redirection happened. Then I lost my job, my self-esteem. My family had to readjust themselves to me. And my friends, I lost friends. I lost my romantic life, I lost it. Lost my shelter in just one moment in one incident in the workplace. Then I had to be in hospital for 7 months. 5 months in hospital and 2 extra months for rehabilitation. And that is when everything went down the drain, according to me. But fortunately and gracefully, my life was spared. And when I was in hospital for that 7 months, I had a wish that no one else who was in a similar industry can actually get into what I've been through. Because it's been an emotional ride until 16 years later. So it is now my dream and my goal to make sure that what happened to me doesn't happen to anyone. So I've dedicated my life to be in any industry that I can get my hands hold of, to try and make a proactive approach by sharing my story, making people understand that safety in the workplace is more than business, it is personal. Meaning if something happens to you now at work, it is not only the company or the business that is affected, your whole life is affected. Your dreams, your goals, and even your family is affected. So whenever you are going to clock in, make sure that you clock out. Clock out safely so that you can see your loved ones, so that you can be there in one of your kids' weddings and be there with the grandkids. So it is very personal, and it is in my heart that as much as it's still hard 16 years later for me to share my story like this, but I've made it a gratitude to God that I will make sure that I push myself to the highest of limits to make sure that I keep speaking this, keep preaching this gospel to my fellow colleagues in the workplace, you know, to make sure that safety is personal.
I think it's really a golden thread of information that you're providing, because from what I've seen so far, and I've been in the health and safety industry now, this is my 13th year, quite often health and safety isn't taken personally unless it's happened to you.
True story, yeah, it is true.
And that for me is really sad to start with. And it means that people need to think about things a little bit differently in their daily lives, the way they do their work, the way they go to work, the way they act at home, when they have chores that they're doing at home as well.
You're actually correct there, Okat, because you know my colleagues in the workplace, they know their jobs, they know how to do them safely because they're certified. But now sometimes they choose not to, and thinking that by doing so they're doing it for their supervisors or their bosses, yet they're sabotaging their lives because once this thing happens to you, believe me, there's no turning back. Imagine the emotional. You know, I'm physically scarred right now, but the emotional scars that I wish people could know. You know, the scars that are impossible for you to heal, the emotional scars, the scars of being scared of even having kids because you don't know how their lives will be because of their father.
Right.
Right. This thing of being marginalized by humankind, the emotions of now I have kids. Now, imagine now if my son, like which used to happen, you know, at the airport, you know, they would stop us because I'm so physically distorted such that I don't look like my son. My son doesn't look like me. And so I have to produce my ID, his mother's ID, and his birth certificates because they think I've stolen my biological son. It's an emotional pain that is impossible to heal. And my colleagues in the workplace have this luck to be proactive about this, making sure that they know why they're doing it safely. They're not only doing it safely for their supervisors, their bosses, they're doing them for themselves, for their dreams, their goals, and their families.
Right. What was the most significant challenge that you faced during your recovery?
My recovery was, okay, it is a lot of them, but one of them was, you know, when you get so tired, when you get so tired to get to an extent where you wish you didn't survive the accident. You know, when I saw myself for the first time after my accident, I remember I was 5 months in hospital, bro. And I had to look at myself in the mirror. And then I saw this monster covered in stitches and staple clips in the face, stitches in the eyelid. The monster that took away everything from me. That night, it was quite a night. Because at first, when I was lying in that bed, I said to myself, Mdu, you survived. But then I congratulated myself. Then this thought sneaks in and says, but you don't look the same again. That is when I had to look at myself in the mirror for the first time. Then I had this paradigm shift from being grateful to be alive to wishing that I didn't survive. So that was very, very challenging. I remember that night vividly. So it was one of I always call it the first emotional pain I felt after my accident.
How has sharing this story impacted your own healing process, and what do you hope others take away from this experience?
It took me 4 years to be able to stand in front of the crowd and share this story. And if it wasn't for the vision that I had for other humankind, I think I would have quit before I even started, after a few trials. Right? And so I'm just hoping for the people to take away that they make life in general now personal. And they realize that the mere fact that they breathe every day, they should appreciate that, the gift of life itself. Appreciate the gift of life. Look beyond the challenges that you're having in your life currently. Because sometimes we soak ourselves too much into everything that is negative around us and forget the fact that you woke up. You woke up.
So be thankful.
Be grateful, bro. You know, my accident happened 1 hour before I knocked off at work. And I didn't expect the accident, and I could be dead. So I've learned to appreciate life as in a form of breathing on its own. And I wish for people to be like that and to have a positive mindset and to make sure that they clock in safely and clock out safely.
Right. Yeah. I think it's extremely admirable that you're taking on this challenge. With that being said, what do you believe is the most critical factor in creating a safety-first culture in the workplace, and how can individuals contribute to it?
We should get to a point where being safe is voluntary. It doesn't need anything to sensitize it. Because when I say safety is personal, I mean that you take this legislation that is technical, all those rules and regulations. So like, for instance, zero harm. How you should define zero harm, you should say you are safe clocking in and safe clocking out for your family. Then being safe is you're gonna volunteer to be safe because you know how much it means to you. It's priceless. Safety is priceless. It has no price tag. So I wish we could like take it that simply we could just simplify it to that extent because that's what it is. So we usually take it for granted and we become complacent even at work just because we've spent so much years in the workplace.
Right.
And then we forget that if in one moment or one incident, another Mdu can come. Or you could be dead, not as lucky as I actually became.
Right. Often when I do health and safety training, I would teach the individuals in my classroom that making sure that everything's in place isn't about you as a safety professional. It's not about you as a safety officer. It's about everybody in the workplace.
Thank you. It's a good one.
But you've really shifted my perspective in saying that if every individual, including the safety officers, who can be held accountable for not acting the way they should, for not implementing what they should, if everybody does what they're supposed to do, then it is about me. And it is about my wife. And it's about my kids. It's about my friends.
Imagine
it's about the extended family.
They're expecting you back home today.
Exactly. And it's not fair on anybody else to be reckless.
Correct.
It's not fair on them. Which I think brings about a much bigger message. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
My last question.
Okay.
What advice would you give to organizations or leaders who want to create a stronger safety culture, but may not know where to start and obviously may face resistance from employees or management?
Put a little heart into everything that you're planning. If you're having any safety campaigns, have a little bit of something personal for the people. That's the best way to enrich the safety culture in the workplace. Have a little heart into it. There's a difference between a person who comes to you and says never give up if you're going through something, just says that, and they don't know what you're going through. There's a difference between that person and someone who says, I am burnt by acid as you're looking at me. And through that accident, I lost everything in my life. I suffered physical and emotional pain. I was covered in stitches and staple clips. I'm scarred more than 70% of my body right now. And I lost everything. I've been in and out of business. I've lost a lot of things. I've lost friends. And here I am coming to you now saying, don't give up. There's a very big difference because I've put a little bit of heart into this. So whenever we're having all the safety campaigns and all the safety cultures that we're designing for our organizations, we need a little bit of touch of heart.
Yes.
Not being too corporate enough. Not being too corporate. You have a little heart into it. Then you're going to start seeing that difference in your organization.
I think this message really hits home. So I want to wish you the best of luck. And I hope that you reach all employers and all the employees in South Africa. I think your message really rings true and it's really sincere. So thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much.